So our theme today, it's an interesting story, how this actually unfolded. The topic, as it's written, is called, I think, From Ego to We-Go. And it's the first time I ever picked a title that was a secret, hidden nod that no one here would know except me, to something relating to the topic for me. But now there's a story afoot that I have to tell you, and it's important that you know that this story is not about me. It's going to sound like it's about me, but it's not. So the expression from ego to we-go comes from, or at least in my experience, it comes from a mentor of mine, a teacher of mine, someone I often talk about, a man in South Dakota. And I write a little bit about him in some of my books. And he's called Wanagi Wachi. And this is the place where I learned about community and about belonging. And he said, that's part of the gift of community. It's finding that ability to release the ego and embrace the we-go. He always had these quirky little expressions that were sort of as silly as they were profound. And interestingly, I had put that in and planned to talk about it. And then Thursday, in the midst of my fever and body pain and chills and painful sore throat, I got this email from this young man from South Dakota, from my community, saying, I'm going to be in Denver tomorrow night. And I was like, oh, great. That's not the word that I was thinking, actually. I just don't want to swear when I'm up here. And I was like texting him like, but please send some details. We're both really sick, and I don't know if you should be in the house, and I would like to receive you, but. So basically I said, send us some details, so we can figure out what's going to happen. And it seemed like maybe he needed a place to stay and was coming with a friend and so on and so forth. I'd known this young man since he was the age of my own son, which is weird. I knew this kid since he was like 6 years old, and he's now like in his 20s. And so he didn't respond. Like, all I ended up knowing was that he was going to be around, he was coming to visit possibly for a few days for an event. And I didn't hear from him all Friday, and I thought, well, he must have changed his plans or felt bad that we were so sick and didn't want to impose. Katie, I can see you know where this is going, don't you? I see the smirk on your face. So at like 6:30 at night on Friday, no, that's actually not true. Honestly, it was like 9:30. And I get a text that says, send us your address. I think we're going to be about an hour and a half away. And my wife was like, what's going on? What are they thinking? Did you get your message about being sick? That's not really how it works around where they come from and where I come from, because it's like, community comes first. Family comes first. Well, but we didn't, we have like this, extra bed, and it's like we didn't make the bed, and we don't have any food in the fridge, and we haven't like left the house or had a shower, or, and I said, they really don't care. Like, he really just wants to be with us. They just want to be together. And, it took her a little while to get that, but she got that. And that was the truth. He didn't care if he slept on the floor. He frankly probably wouldn't have cared if he slept in the driveway. It wasn't about the quality of the visitor. Were we going to take them out for dinner or shopping or to see the sights? As we often fret when we have visitors, especially other family. It was just to be together. And sure enough, they arrived before midnight, and I stayed up, and all I could feel as I sensed their approach was this extraordinary joy growing in my heart. And how I felt and what I wanted for myself, my sleep, my precious sleep. It just wasn't the issue anymore. It was just this excitement to give back, to look after someone whose family has looked after me. How many times have I been in need and his mother came to support me or attended ceremonies or events that I benefited from? And how many times could she have been doing something else? Or did she need other things? In fact, his mom in particular, and his grandparents actually, frequently traveled many hours to attend spiritual ceremonies and events just to show support. No financial compensation, no gifts upon departing, right? Nothing to get out of it except the opportunity to be in community and help someone else along. And sure enough, yesterday we had a wonderful day together. These two young men, myself, my family, we kind of all roused to the occasion. Of course, when they left at 4 p.m, we all collapsed in fever and the pain came back. But it was such an extraordinary day, and it was a day that reminded me of so many experiences together. A lot of these, frankly, are things that are hard to communicate or relate if you haven't been in spiritual community before. And when I say been in spiritual community before, I don't mean where you show up and just sit beside people. But I mean where you show up and listen to people. Where you show up and ask how I can help. Where you show up and you feel like being a part of it is even more important than getting something from it. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, in our community, my community before this one, I mean, that was the real thrill. Let me be a part of it. I don't want to just show up to a sweat lodge or a pipe ceremony and watch. Can I hold something? Can I clean something? Could I stay up all night and wait for someone to arrive and help them get in? What can I give? Because there's something in the effort, there's something in the exchange that's just more real than anything that goes on in my head. There's something in the chemistry of two human souls, two human lives interacting, doing something for each other, with each other, that we just don't get from a book or a lecture or an audio series. There is an energy to life, to being engaged, to reaching out and touching others and being vulnerable and saying that we need help. I could go on, I could really go on about these experiences, but what I want to say is that as I was reflecting, it just hit me in a very painful way how much we've lost in our world today. Maybe it's not true for all of you, but for some of you, we have lost so much as we have raced to gain, to acquire. We've lost each other. We have this illusion that we don't need each other. All you need is a phone, right? Because if I need something fixed, I'll call someone. If I need to buy something, I'll go somewhere. It's just me and my online yellow pages. You remember what yellow pages are, right? I don't know what the reference is anymore. There's no reference. The directory. Like, I don't need my community anymore. I need my phone. It's got all the answers. It's got all the phone numbers. But isn't that the saddest thing, right? It's the age of hyperconnection. I can literally, during the next song, get my phone out and look up a minister in Australia and email him or her to see what they think about the topic of interconnection and share it with you before the end of the service, if they're awake. That's not connection, though. That's just information sharing. Connection is what we can do when we are together. When we sit and turn towards each other. When we pray and talk about it. When we suffer and reach out. When we succeed and celebrate. This is moving the energy of life. And amazingly, this feeds the spiritual path in ways that are unexplainable, ways that far supersede anything we can accomplish alone. Because together, we see our strengths. Watching the people light the candles, I leaned over and said, we should get her on a committee. She didn't use a match, she just... How do you learn that without each other? I mean, we plan things, let's get the matches, we'll put them in a bowl. We need each other. And we need to learn from our frailties, from our mistakes, from accidents. I don't mind, I'm going to say, the candle went out for a moment. Remember? Some of you saw that. Did the world end? Did God leave the building? No. It was so important to see that, to feel that. But you don't get that at home in front of the TV. You don't get that at home in front of the computer. We need each other. We need to learn from each other's mistakes. We need to learn from each other's experiences and opportunities. We need each other. And where else do we find the power to overcome the ego than in the longing heart of a community member, right? Because at home, it kind of slips into, what do I want? What do I need? What's most authentic? How can I express my gift? It's a lot of thought. It's very different than showing up and giving it. Do you see what I mean? Very different. That's where the growing happens, because that's where we encounter our fear. Well, what if they don't like what I say? What if they don't like what I offer? What if I look funny or seem stupid? Go through it. It's not going to happen alone. Go through it together. What if I don't know what to do? What if I don't get it right? The only way you'll know is together. And together, the amazing thing, what we find eventually, is that we are all lovable just the way we are. And that no one is doing this just right. No one is doing this perfectly. And wouldn't it be interesting if we concluded, after all searching, all study, and all pursuit of perfection, that just being broken together is really what we're here for. And that in that surrender, in that humility, the true creative power of humanity emerges. I think that's what's really happening here. And so, I invite you today to consider what it means to really be here together. Whether you are becoming a member or not, how can you remember your connection with all life, with all beings, each and every day? So we'll close with just a little moment to reflect. Maybe a deep breath. And you give yourself a little space just to search yourself. Search your life as you reflect on the balance between the me that you seek to fulfill and the we that you are ultimately always a part of. And do you see that everywhere? Somewhere? Sometimes? Can you take this moment to make the commitment to release the ego and embrace the consciousness of togetherness? With greater and expanding circles each and every day.